So Yahoo Finance posted a budget on a $60,000 a year salary this morning. And in the comments were just wrecking Yahoo Finance for almost everything, right? And, so it got me like in investigative mood. So I was like, well, let's go in here and see what is actually, insanity versus what's really reality, right? If you don't know who I am, I'm Nate, and I'm a life coach, and I help people get the life they deserve, right? So if you're interested in that, hit me up in the comments below. Let's get you started with life coaching. And make sure you shop at Ensorsale.com and pick you up a cool inspirational t-shirt. This is probably the last week of this drop before the next drop. So make sure you pick that up. And let's continue with the video. So basically what I did, is I went on ChatGPT and I was like, okay, they're saying that on a $60,000 a year budget, that housing the most you can afford with housing is $1,250 a month, right? So I was like, well, let me see how many houses. So if you actually want to purchase a house, buy a house, well, how much money would that be, right? So that would mean you get a loan on a 30-year fixed mortgage at $210,000, right? So then I put in the ChatGPT, okay, well, how many houses are available for sale for less than $210,000 in my area, right? Thinking like, I haven't seen one ever in my area that low, maybe, but there are actually, there is one trailer and one condo and one house in my area that are that price, right? Now, that being said, we went to Cape Carteret yesterday looking at a house. And this house back in 2017 sold for $240,000. Well, now they're trying to sell it for $490,000, almost $500,000, right? And we go do the math on what that would look like, and that would look like a $3,500 a month payment, right? And that's basically the entirety of a $60,000 a year salary, right? And so that's what people are seeing. They're seeing what's basically a dream home, right? It's a 3,000 square foot house. And they're seeing it as, okay, I should have this dream home right now, on the average salary, right? But see, in my area, that's not even the average salary. The average two-person income in my area is $60,000. So people are averaging $30,000 a year actually in what they're making here, right? So $60,000 would be two people's income here. So keep that in mind when I'm looking around my area. But there were houses in the area that you could buy. Now, one was a very nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath trailer, $150,000 would have been perfect, right? For my area, right? Some people would be like, oh, a trailer, blah, blah, blah. But trailers are nice now. And modular homes are nice now. Like, it's not like the 1970s and, trailers are barely held up with screws, like trailers are very nice now, and they have all the bells and whistles of a house that the high-end houses have, right? They're just a trailer, right? So they're just manufactured, driven to the spot and put together, and maybe not on a permanent foundation, right? So just keep that in mind. Trailers are really nice now. But this is the reality that we live in, right now. So is it possible to have that housing budget? Yes, it is, right? Can you go a little bit higher on the housing budget? Maybe, and find something a little bit better. But there were things in my area that were for sale. One nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath trailer, Everything else was basically a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, either a condo or a very, very small 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, right? Now, and it's all going to depend on your circumstances, which one you buy. If you have multiple children, you're probably going to go with that 3-bedroom, 2-bath. You know, if you're just a husband and a wife, you might go with the 2-2, right? And obviously, there are plenty of places around here to rent for less than that. So keep that in mind as well. But you're not living the life of luxury at $60,000 only, right? To live the life of luxury here, you need 2 incomes of $60,000, right? And that would put you in the top 1% here where I'm at, right? But, you know, obviously if you're going into bigger cities, things are going to be different. There's more competition, you know, and you'll have to figure that out for yourself. But it is possible to live for that. So that point is basically null and void for the people going against Yahoo Finance, right? Now, Yahoo Finance basically put transportation cost at $380, right? And people were giving them, I mean, just trashing them with that because, you know, the average car payment right now is like $500, right? But that's if you buy a brand new car, right? Obviously, you're not going to be buying a brand new car with a $380 budget, right? You're going to be buying probably a 10-year-old car, if not further back, right? I'm actually seeing some of my dream cars from high school being under $8,000 right now, you know, and they got maybe 160,000 miles on it. So, you know, I'm seeing Cadillac Escalades. I'm seeing, you know, the Avalanches back in the day that were our dream cars. You know, the Mustangs, the Camaros, they're all under 10 grand right now. So there are cars out there, there are vehicles out there that can get you under that transportation budget. Now, if you're looking to say, okay, I'm only going to buy a brand new car, you know, you're going to have a little bit tighter of a budget. But it is possible to find a very nice vehicle for that amount, right? And also, you know, just to put it out there, you know, we have 3 paid off vehicles. So that helps us out with our budget a lot, right? But where I see in this budget is really like they were putting $570 into investing, right? And on the outside, that looks wonderful. Like say my job automatically takes out 6% of my income and puts it into my retirement for my pension that I'm supposed to get if I get this, you know, 30 years. So I don't even see that money, right? That $570 they're talking about, like it never even comes to my paycheck, right? So I invest on the outside as well. But basically, here's the deal with what I'm trying to get at with this Yahoo Finance stuff, right? You're basically going to do what's called a threshold budget, right? You're going to figure out your basics, right? Well, the things that are always going to be there, your light bill, your water bill. People are giving them hell about a cable bill, but obviously if you hadn't cut cable by now, like you're probably just really into live sports, and honestly, like just YouTube the highlights of the game, man, because you're wasting 3 hours of your night every night, right? On live sports, and you don't need to be addicted to gambling if you're making the average salary anyway, right? But that being said, we do what's called a threshold budget, right? So what we're going to do is obviously the necessities. You have to have shelter, you have to have clothing, you have to have food, you have to have, you know, lights, water, that kind of thing. So that, whatever that is, that's a fixed cost every month, right? Anything after that is going to be on the threshold budget. So if you're at $60,000 a year, they say I'm going to go based on, you know, my the way my budget is, your budget may be different. So if you don't have 6% coming off the top, you know, then you're going to be sitting at Yahoo Finance as $3,900, right? But mine's like $3,200, right? And so basically, once you get past that, the threshold is $3,200. We're not spending over $3,200. So that means little Jessica has a birthday party at the end of the month, and we're sitting at $3,200, and she needs a birthday present. Guess what? She's not getting a birthday present, because you should have planned for that birthday present at the beginning of the month, right? You know, somebody says, okay, you know, we got a birthday party in Raleigh and we're sitting at the threshold of our budget. We're not going to the birthday party in Raleigh. Sorry about that, fam. Like, it's just not happening because we're already at the threshold of our budget, right? That's called a threshold budget. You just don't go over the threshold. You stop spending money, right? You sit at home and watch your Netflix, right? Or play games, or watch, or play board games, or, you know, talk to each other at the house, you know, whatever. Go do free stuff. You know, for us, it's go to the beach, go fishing, you know, go to the park, you know, that kind of stuff, right? But that's called a threshold budget. And it's very, like I say, 90% of the time, we're not even hitting the threshold, all right? Because we're just not people that do extravagant things with money, right? We're not going out and buying, you know, Louis Vuitton bags or Gucci purses or, you know, Gucci shoes, Gucci belts. You know, we're just not that kind of person. We shop at Ensorsale.com only, right? And basically, with tax write-offs, we end up with free clothing, right? Because that's why I own a clothing company, to get myself free clothing, right? But that being said, you know, Yahoo Finance is not really that far off, right? And I mean, people were just giving them hell for a lot of stuff, especially the car payment, because everybody has to have a car payment, right? And it's just not true, right? Like I say, if you're a person out there, you can make $60,000 a year work. Obviously, $60,000 a year depends on where you live, right? Say $60,000 in North Carolina is pretty decent, right? $60,000 in LA, you're going to be broke. Like, you're going to be broke, right? And, you know, you'll have to, you know, figure that out, right? But for the average person, you know, $60,000 is, especially in North Carolina, the average household income in North Carolina is $60,000, right? So keep that in mind. You know, this is basically the everyday budget for people. This is what people are really living through. And yes, we are at high inflation times. If you didn't buy a house in between 2019 and 2022, or 2017 and 2022, whenever, 2016 and 2022, yes, you are going to be paying a lot more for housing. It's still better to purchase a house, whether it be a condo, whether it be a small 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. Still better to purchase than to not purchase. You know, that kind of thing. You're not going to have the big giant mansion. Even, you know, people like myself that are making a bunch of money in the stock market are not going to have that big giant mansion. You know, that own their own t-shirt company, that, you know, they're not going to be living in a giant mansion. You know, that's just the reality of the situation. But the truth is, you know, Yahoo Finance is not that far off, unfortunately. And, you know, but they will definitely like using the threshold budget is a lot easier than the way they did it, right? But you really could figure out right down to the T exactly what you spend every month. But, you know, I'd rather just cut it off and be done with it, right? So that's how I do it. Let me know how you budget in the comments below. Was Yahoo, you know, crazy for posting this? Or are they pretty much dead spot on? Which part of their budget would you say is way off? I'm Nate, and I'm the FitfutureMD. I'm a life coach. If you're looking to set up your budget so that you're successful, so that you can invest, so that you can get ahead of everybody else, hit me up in the DM. Hit me up on DM on Instagram. Hell, text me 919-480-1370. Let's get you started with life coaching. And honestly, like, if I can help you in any way, I will. I have free affirmations, I have a free workout nutrition plan. So I really do try to help people as much as possible. That's why I do this every week. So hopefully I can help you. And shop at Ensorsale.com, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.